talking about how a lot of people, have been allowed in their doorstep, and there's a lot of these party activists in Sweden insisting they've had good responses. But even in an ordinary year, the local ballots don't attract the same level of attention. People don't really are not really invested into the elections, the local elections, in comparison to a general election, and especially with this year, the COVID situation happening and the whole challenge of the country right now, is it's just part of it, and it's just one of the reasons, why these whole issues and why there's not that much interesting, and they're not getting a lot of garnering a lot of attention, especially right now, what with the COVID situation happening. And yeah, in most places in England, like I said, these local elections crucial in determining who runs services, from libraries, from leisure centers to social care, but they have national significance as well. So it's the first major electoral test since the pandemic, so the first for Boris Johnson since his success at the 2019 general elections, and the first for Sir Keir Starmer, because since becoming Labour leader and promising to revive the party's fortune. So yeah, a measure of the direction in which Sir Ed Davey is taking the Lib Dems, whether the Green Party can build on recent support, and what the future holds for the successor to the Brexit Party, the Reform UK. So yeah, when the sun rises over Hartlepool in the early hours of Friday morning, it will bring in with it one of these early verdicts. So yeah, with counting of the ballot boxes across England spread over a few days due to the COVID rules, the by-election to choose the town's new MP will be one of the first clear results. Yeah, that is what they are going to be hopefully addressing as it is going on. And if in most places campaigning has been limited, in Hartlepool, well, it's been anything but. So yeah, party bigwigs, pollsters, and journalists have headed to England's northeast coast to take the temperature of the town, whose decision will be key in determining by the narrative of these election results. So yeah, it's been seen, as a crucial test of whether the Conservatives can continue their march into traditional Labour seats. Now Brexit is no longer top of the agenda, or whether Labour can stem the tide and start to rebuild. So all the attention hasn't escaped a group of local swimmers who've been braving the freezing waters of the North Sea every day during lockdown for the sake of their well-being. So yeah, for them though, the significance of this election, it isn't the impact it might make in Westminster, but the difference it makes in Hartlepool, whether any of the parties will come good on promises to deliver jobs, investments, and opportunities. So these are just signs of what they can do as they move along with the year and with the elections. That is right. That is the things that they will be talking about. And the pandemic has brought home, to them a sense of place. The confinement of a lockdown has heightened awareness of what's on the doorstep. So yeah, among voters in the West Midlands, there is talk of need to revitalize high streets. So in Lincolnshire, the desire for parks and recreational facilities for families, and the Derbyshire families with traffic planning and development issues that are now pertinent to local elections. All of these are going to be, it's going to be pertinent going on with the local elections. And yeah, that's just how, that the whole situation is going on. And like I said, the chief that are pertinent to these local elections may influence people's choices, but there are few who will entirely discount the national picture. And yeah, Whaley Bridge, the Derbyshire, famed for the dam that almost collapsed in 2019. Some voters say they would put local issues to the fore, but for others, for the party's national policy platforms, and crucially, the levels of trust in them are what counts. So this week's results will have seen as a measure of whether Labour's claim of Tory sleaze have had an impact on these voters, or whether the Conservatives are right to argue it's not what people care about. So yeah, they've been seen as a public verdict on the way to the parties have responded to the pandemic, and they'll be seen as further evidence of whether old party loyalties will still hold, or whether these lines have been permanently blurred. These are things that they will be addressing, and they'll also be judged on how many, how mayors, councils, and police and crime commissioners have performed, and who the people want to run the services they rely on. So that these are the local elections with national significance. And while the campaign might have been quieter in these COVID times, it doesn't mean the results won't reverberate. Yeah, this is the fact of the matter is these elections elections are also very, very important when you come down to it. And when you look at the situation right now, especially with the whole COVID situation going, it's just, these are just important things that is happening, and we don't really know how important this is. But yes, the local elections are something, that is going on about, and it's buzzing around. And yeah, there's a lot of buzz, especially going on with this. So Nicola Sturgeon has also denied, that she could hold a wildcat referendum on independence if the SNP wins a majority in Thursday's Holyrood election. Yeah, that is, stuff that is happening in Scotland, the Scottish elections. Taking a look at all these Scottish elections. So Ms. Sturgeon was speaking as she came under attack from Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross. And in this Scotland national debate, they were talking about all these things. And Mr. Ross claimed that the SNP would hold an illegal referendum if the Prime Minister refused to give formal consent. So Ms. Sturgeon said, no, we won't. And the SNP leader accused Ms. Ross of spreading smears and untruths about her position. So she added also, what I've consistently said all along, sometimes to criticism from people on my own side of the argument, is that I would not countenance an illegal referendum, not at least because it would not deliver independence. So I want Scotland in the fullest of times and in due course to become an independent country, and I'll be responsible about that. And I will build and ultimately, I think, win the case for independence through patience, persuasion of people across the country. So yeah, this is all just, part of the elections that is going on right now. And when it comes to Scotland, the things in Scotland that is going on, this is just, part of all of these things. And some in the referendum rather in 2014, which saw these voters in Scotland reject independence by 55 to 45%, was formally approved by the UK government, with both it and the Scottish government pledging to respect the results. So Prime Minister Boris Johnson has so far refused to grant the same consent, for another vote on the issue, arguing that the 2014 referendum had settled the question for a generation. I mean, this is, the youth has decided on this, and this whole, it's very impactful, for what one of these things, what they are doing. And some within the independence movement, including the former SNP leader and First Minister Alex Salmond, who now leads the ALBA party, have called on Ms. Sturgeon to set out an alternative path to independence if the Prime Minister's stance does not change. And there's been, suggestions that a referendum could be held without the UK's government's approval. So this is going to be similar to the disputed vote in Catalonia in 2017. So yeah, the SNP manifesto says it wants to hold a referendum after the pandemic, and ends, with Sturgeon not ruling out going out to court to settle the question of whether Holyrood could legislate for a legal referendum without Westminster's backing. So yeah, the striking thing about the early stages of this debate was that when you get away from the constitutional faultiness, these parties actually have a lot in common. So yeah, the leaders all, look, when you come down right to it, all these parties are talking about pretty much almost the same thing if you avoid all of these drama in between that. And yeah, all these leaders, are agreeing that about taking a cautious route out of the COVID-19 lockdown, and all seem to be planning stay caution this year rather than international travel. And yeah, like I said, these government and all these parties are also thinking of the best and what is best for the country as well, and all want to commit more money to health and care services, and none of them want to raise income taxes to do it. I mean, this is just part of it. They're still top politicians, so whether these digs are plenty, but there's also a lot that you can agree. I agree with moments. You're gonna have those moments where I kind of agree with what they're saying, even between Patrick Harvey and Douglas Ross, who are not usually exactly chummy. So yeah, this is just part of plenty of the common ground between the parties, but it tends to be forgotten when the debate swings to independence, and that predictably the section where the no talking over each other rule went out the window. I mean, that's, in case you guys are wondering, that it was something that happened very recently, rather. Yeah, it's just super crazy, what is going on. And Mr. Ross also claimed that Nicola Sturgeon has been clear, and if she gets a majority, she'll take her eye off the ball for Scotland's recovery, for rebuilding the country from the pandemic, and seek to hold another independence referendum. And she will ask for a Section 30 order, which the Prime Minister has said is absolutely the wrong time to do right now in the middle of this whole global pandemic scene, and to seek to divide the country all over again. And he said that when the prime minister refused the request, Ms. Sturgeon would go ahead with an illegal wildcat referendum, pointing out to previous comments made by the SNP MP Richard Thompson, who said the Scottish government would simply go ahead with a referendum if formal consent is refused. So, there was a televised debate. In case you guys are wondering, what is this whole thing going about? What is Nick talking about? Well, there was this recently televised debate that featured the leaders of the three other parties who represented in the Scottish Parliament. So the Scottish leaders and all of them were talking about all this, and they were having like a big national, a debate on how they're going to move forward in Scotland as well. So yeah, this is just some of the things that they are, addressing, and there's a lot of these rows going on, and they said, okay, we're going to move forward with the referendum, but Nicola Sturgeon wasn't saying it. She was not having it. She said, no, sometimes people get the wrong idea of what I'm trying to say. It's not really that. What I'm trying to talk about is what she was trying to, address at that debate as well. So, who can, like the Scottish Liberal Democrats, Willie Rennie said people would be bemused that the party leaders were debating independence in the wake of one of the deepest pandemics the country has ever faced. So Mr. Rennie said, the people who are waiting an age for mental health treatment, I think deserve better than this. And the people who are desperate for a job deserve better than this. And he later added that, despite the fact that it has been the policy of the SNP for generations, they still don't know what the currency would be in an independent Scotland. I mean, what is the value? What is the, value of their money going to be like? And, the Scottish Greens co-leader, Patrick Harvey, said that possibility of an independent Scotland would allow the country to shape a more radical future. Yeah, that's right. And he also added, I don't think we can afford to pass up the opportunity to shape our own recovery. And this is just a moment of incredible opportunity to decide what kind of country is going to emerge from COVID. But Mr. Harvey and Ms. Sturgeon disagreed. And, they said, that what currency an independent Scotland should use, with the Greens co-leaders saying plans for a separate Scottish currency should begin immediately after a vote for independence. But Mr. Sturgeon said, Scotland would continue to use the pound for as long as necessary after independence. So yeah, the debate also saw the five party leaders face questions on topics including, the possible easing of foreign travel restrictions, the future of the social care sector, taxation, and plans for a new £200 million royal yacht. Yeah, in case this is all the things that they were talking about in that televised debate. So in case you guys are wondering, you guys can always check it out on YouTube as well. And also don't forget, if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, you can always hit me up and let me know on those numbers. It is 07852473473. Also, you can check us out on our webpage. That is, www.relaxradio.net. And also, you can check us out on YouTube as well. We go pretty big on YouTube. We go live on YouTube. We go live on Facebook and Instagram as well. So check us out for that. And also don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can download the Apple app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break and taking a look at your time right now. It is 5:30. A good evening. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio. That's right. You guys, in case you guys are wondering, you can always hit us up and, call us up and let us know what your opinions are on the ongoing things that is happening around the UK. Hey, it's all, you're always welcome to do that. You know the numbers. It is 078 and also you can always download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And yeah, getting right back to it, the elections is happening right now, the elections 2021. So leaders in the final push for votes. And yeah, they're talking about, all of these things going on. And yeah, political leaders have hit the road in England in a final push for votes ahead of the elections. So yeah, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the Conservatives faced some tough contests, but the party was fighting for every vote. So yeah, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said that his party was doing the same, but had a mountain to climb to win back support in key battlegrounds. So yeah, polls open from 7 to 20 BST on Thursday with the results due on Friday. That's right. So, about 48 million people in England, Wales, and Scotland will be able to take part in the elections. Many of them postponed from last year just because of all of these, these things that is happening because of the pandemic, as well as, the polls for the Scottish Parliament and the Senate in Wales. There are elections for seats on 143 English councils and 13 local mayors. Yeah, that is the whole gist of it all. And when it comes to the whole election situation right now in in England, and yeah, there'll also be a by-election by Westminster's seat of Hartlepool, and yeah, the votes will represent the first electoral tests for parties since the Conservatives won a majority at the 2019 general election. So yeah, they'll be the first, to vote since Sir Keir took over as Labour, for 13 months ago, and Sir Ed Davey won the Liberal Democrat leadership race last August. Yeah, so all of these voting is happening. And, you got to remember that campaigning has been, curtained by a lot of these COVID restrictions. So a lot of this has been inhibited and restricted. There's been a lot of restrictions, especially when it comes down to campaigning and the whole election, the whole general gist of the election. It's because mostly got to do with, all of these, the COVID restrictions. Like people are not allowed to go outside. We're trying to keep everyone indoors. So this is just one of the things. So with these large public meetings moved online and limits on groups of activists going door to door. So yeah, speaking in Stourbridge in support of the Tory candidate for the West Midlands, Mayor Mr. Johnson said it is a very tough set of elections. When we stood last time for these many council seats, we were at a high watermark, and we will be fighting for absolutely every vote. So if asked, if the Conservatives could win a hat trick in the mayoral races in Tees Valley and West Midlands, well, and the Hartlepool by-elections, he said, that there are tough contests, and Hartlepool hasn't been a Conservative seat since its inception. It will be a very tough fight, but I hope everybody gets out to vote. So yeah, Mr. Johnson was also asked if he'd allowed another independence referendum in Scotland if pro-independent parties win a majority in the Scottish Parliament elections. And he said, let's wait and see what actually happens. But I think, most people in Scotland and around the whole of the UK feel that as we're coming out of the pandemic together, and, that is not the time to have a reckless and, irresponsible second referendum. I mean, look, end of the day, this is not what Boris Johnson wants to happen right now. Right now, with this, like I said, with the burdens and the issues that is going on in the UK, this is just another reason, why he's like, hey, this is not a great timing to be even thinking about another referendum to talk about, independence of Scotland. I mean, right now is not the greatest of time. If anything, we should stick together is what he wants. I mean, but then at the same time, we can't really, say for a fact what is going to happen as, time progresses on. So yes, Sir Keir began a frantic day of campaigning on Wednesday with a visit to the Pontefract to support Labour leaders for West Yorkshire mayorship. So yeah, and asked about, a Guardian report, there was a lot of these reports based on, international polling that the party is heading for a big defeat on Thursday's Hartlepool by-elections. And he said there was a mountain to climb when I look over as leader of the Labour Party. So yeah, we lost in December 2019 very badly, and I've got to make sure the Labour Party is in a position to win the next general election when it comes. So yeah, that's the mountain we're climbing. We're on that mountain. We're climbing, and we're going into the elections tomorrow, fighting for every vote. So yeah, Sir Keir is also joining Labour's Labour candidates for the mayoral races in the West Midlands and west of England. So yeah, the campaign is kind of, it's a little out of place and it's a little bit messy, but hey, this is just what it is. And Sir Ed Davey took the Lib Dems campaign to the London suburbs of Surbiton, where he highlighted the party's policies on the environment, and he described the campaign so far as weird because of the COVID restrictions. But he also added that when we have managed to talk to people, they are responding positively to the Liberal Democrat message because we are a community politicians. So people know that if we get a Liberal Democrat councillor, things get done. So yeah, Green Party co-leader Jonathan Bartley was also in the capital to support the party's candidate for the Greater London mayor. So yeah, he also said he was expecting more council seat gains, having picked up at least 40 at the last round of English local elections, and promised to speak for the unprecedented. But once people see Greens elected and make a difference, they want more. This is what Mr. Bartley said. And the pandemic means ballots are expected to take longer than usual to count, because end of the day, you got to remember it's going to be physically done, and because of this whole restriction issues that is going on right now in the UK, it's just a matter of time. It'll take longer time than expected. It's not going to be as quick as it was or as efficient as you'd think it was back before pre-COVID situation right here. And it's just a part of all of this. And they're saying, yeah, it'll take a longer time than usual, and it's just a part of all of this. Like, and he said, all these seats that have been happening, and it is going to be taking time because of this. There's been a lot of greater uncertainty over when results are going to be declared. It's not going to be sure when they're going to declare it. So some of these counts will take place overnight on Thursday, including for the Hartlepool by-elections, where a result is expected early on Friday. But counting in some council areas in England will take place on Friday or over the weekend. So yeah, a dozen of the counts for 39 police and crime commissioners elected in England will not begin until Monday. That is right. So results for all these 60 seats in the Welsh Senate will be known on Friday as well. So Scotland's, they're going to start counting in some areas on Friday, but there will also be a final result until Saturday or possibly even Sunday. So, make sure you guys sit in and tune in for more info on that, with what is going on with the elections going on in the UK. But with that, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. And taking a look at your time right now, it is 5:44. Good evening. Hey, welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio. It's RELAKS with me, Nick, keeping you guys company. And, there's been a complaint actually after England's booking site reveals the vaccine status. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the COVID-19 issue going on. I mean, hey, what do you guys expect? You think I'm going to let you guys easy? Hey, this is the situation right now. The situation is that the NHS is revising the booking system for the COVID-19 jabs in England after the complaints that it could reveal individual vaccine statuses. So yeah, by entering your details such as your names, your date of birth, your postcode, it may be possible to work out if another person had been given both doses, one or none. So yeah, the privacy campaigners Big Brother's Watch called it a shocking failure. I mean, who wouldn't? With the situation that is, being said. I mean, look, all of us value our privacy. End of the day, we want to take care of our privacy, and it's just all part of the gig. When you think about it, this whole situation going on, especially the whole COVID thing, and then the government trying to impose this digital certification. It just, it's just part of the gig. Why we care for our essentially our whole identity and privacy. Yeah, this is just one of the things, especially when it comes to information, where we live in a generation, in a very, very crazy generation where information means more power. So yeah, this is just, that's why this is just one of the reasons why they're getting a lot of backlash, from the public, from the general public. And the NHS Digital said the system had no direct access to medical records and allowed millions to quickly book jabs. So yeah, the flaw in the website was first revealed, and which said it could allow employers to monitor their workers' vaccination status, or just put up people at the risk of peer pressure from anti-vaccination friends and colleagues not to get the jab. So yeah, the website allows people to book appointments without using their NHS number by entering their name, date of birth, and postcode. But this also gives different results depending on whether the individual has already had 2 doses, one or none, or allowing another user to quickly determine another person's vaccination status. So yeah, in the case of someone who has been who've had both of these doses, they can say you do not need to book any coronavirus appointments using this service. So yeah, this is reported that you could have both of your appointments for people who had 1 dose. The site presents a screen referring them to their booking for a second appointment. So yeah, and for those who have not had any jabs, it goes to a standard screening page. So yeah, this is this is why one of these things why this whole thing got a big backlash from the people and from the general public. And yeah, if you think about it, Silky Carlo, the director of the Big Brother's Watch, said it is a seriously shocking failure to protect patients' medical confidentiality at a time when it could not be more important. And she said that the data was exposed to absolutely anyone to pry into, because date of birth and postal code information can easily be found or bought. I mean, end of the day, like I said, we're trying to value our whole privacy and our information, our data. And when it's very easily traceable like this, and for people to know whether you've had a vaccination or not, end of the day, and then you get into that whole peer pressure of whether people are going to force you. Either people are going to be forcing you, peer pressuring you into not taking the vaccine, or other people who could call you out for not taking, or for calling you out for not taking the vaccine as well. Just causes a lot of strife in you, and we don't really need that. And especially right now with the situation and the whole pandemic going on in the country, this is just not something that is feasible, and it's a massive failure. Yeah, that's what they mean with it, and it's actual facts right there. So Miss Carlos rather, she said that this is a personal health information that could easily be exploited by companies, insurers, employers, or scammers. I mean, when you really get down to it, yeah, employers they can exploit this, and they can say, okay, we can't hire you, or we can fire you according to this XYZ. This is why, the reason, because you didn't get the vaccine or something like that, when actually you're not supposed, like, whatever said and done, the government cannot force you to take something that you don't want to take, even when it comes to vaccines especially. So the robust protections must be put in place immediately, and an urgent investigation should be opened, to establish just how much and how so much of this, basic privacy protection could be missing from one of the most sensitive health databases in the country. So yeah, the National Data Guardian for the Health and Social Care, which advises healthcare organizations about handling personal data, said it had been contacted by some people with concerns about the way the NHS booking site works. So yeah, they say it is important, that it is as simple and easy as possible for people to book their vaccination. And we understand that the website has been developed to support this aim. This is all said, by a spokesperson for the Office of the National Data. And the spokesperson also said that the organizations responsible for the site had been contacted to raise its concern and discuss the twin important aims of protecting confidentiality whilst maintaining easy access to vaccinations for the public. So yeah, the NHS Digital said it was revising the messages used by the booking service systems to improve the privacy, but they have also just suggested that the conclusions about someone's vaccine status from entering other people's data would not also always be accurate. So it's not going to be a 100% thing, even if they get those data and that information. It's not going to be, the data that they get will not be accurate as well as all the time, whether they've gotten the vaccine or not. So the online booking system enabled millions of people to book their vaccination quickly and easily. Well, the spokesperson also, further said that this is making a significant impact on the management and containment of the pandemic, and it is saving lives. And the system does not provide any access to anyone's medical records, and people should not be fraudulently using the service. It should only be used by people booking their own vaccine on, or for someone who's knowingly provided their details for this purpose. I mean, this is just, some of the things that, they wanted to address. And they're saying, even then, the medical records, your information is not going to be leaked out, is what they're trying to reassure the general public. But with, like I said, we're living in an age where technology is going to have a lot of grasp on your social life and every kind of thing, every walk of your life. So there's always going to be social media. There's going to be things where people can trace down something like this. So when you input information like this onto a site, especially, it's like you're calling for this problem. You're saying, okay, so, and then it's just another thing. Like I said, they can screen you. Governments can screen you. Your employers can screen you. Even scammers can come and fool you and say, hey, okay, you've gotten the vaccine X, Y, and Z, so you got the next vaccine is this. I mean, scammers all across the globe are always going to be there. I mean, I saw one scam, or especially when it came down to an Amazon scam, and how these people try to scam people from these countries. These scammers were trying to scam the people who were ordering these orders, placing fake orders and stuff like that. I mean, it just goes to show, the possibilities of you also getting exploited is not, as small as you think. It is a pretty big deal. Taking really a look at it, if you really look at it under a microscope, there's a lot of risks entailed to getting your, giving out your information like that, especially when it comes to your name and information like that. Like I said, end of the day, information. We're living in an age and day where information and is, power. Knowledge is essentially the power, and the guy with the most knowledge or most information about you can have the most control, and they can essentially, profile you and stuff like that. So this is just some of the reasons why you should watch out when it comes to this. And yeah, just I hope they can fix all these complaints and this negativity and the criticism that the whole NHS thing is receiving from their status. I mean, end of the day, even I'm not quite one. I mean, look, it's my personal opinion, but I'm not quite 100% on board even with the digital certifications. I mean, look, you want to go to a pub, you want to go to your friend's place or anything, you need, a digital certificate to prove that you've had the vaccine. I mean, come on, that's crazy. Why even move out of the house? You can just stay at home and not even bother. I mean, then there is also the argument where people say, okay, since everyone else is having the vaccine, why should I even bother? I mean, at the same time, yes, you got to look out for yourself as well. I mean, look, it's all about accountability. End of the day, you got to be accountable for your actions and for what you do. Because, end of the day, even if you don't get the virus or you don't get the symptoms, somebody else could. And we don't ever want to put another person's life in risk or in danger. Okay. And yeah, with that being said, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here and make way for my buddy Matthew, who will be keeping you guys company. So make sure you guys keep it locked right here on Relaks Radio. And hey, you can catch me again tomorrow, same time, same place, same frequency. And if you want to get in touch with Matthew or you want to get in touch with us, you can always check us up on our, social media pages, or you can call us up on those numbers. It is 07852 473 473. And with that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here. Peace and much love.